Good morning. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about social media algorithms and why they're important to understand. And this is not just for me speaking as a content creator, this is actually for you as a viewer, someone who uses social media. I think that a lot of times we view content on social media platforms and we don't understand how the algorithm actually works and how it affects us as a content creator, but also us as a viewer. So, this is the second time that this topic has kind of come to me. I made a video about it once, but I took it down because of the way that it was delivered. And so I'm going to do it again. um, but every social media platform has an algorithm that is specific to that platform. And every social media platform uses the algorithm in different ways. And it uses the algorithm to measure whether or not content is valuable to that platform. I will tell you how the algorithm works for each platform that I looked at. But basically, what is the most important thing to know is that the algorithm is used to measure behavior. And I think a lot of times as content creators, we think that we are being evaluated on a personal level. Like we take it personally because we believe in the content that we're putting out, right? So when our content doesn't get pushed out, then we want to take it personally. But really, it's actually measuring behavior of the viewer and whether or not the viewer is interacting with our content. And so if you find someone as a viewer that you really like and you want to see more of, then it is really important to share, to comment, to like, to follow that person, to do all the things, because that is what tells that social media platform that you value that content and you want to see more of it. To watch the video all the way through is very important. And even if you don't want to listen to it, let it play all the way through. Like set it on play and walk away from your phone. But if you want to support a content creator, not necessarily just me, but anybody, then this is how you show the social media platform's algorithm that you value the content and that you want to see more of it. And I used to think that as a viewer that it was just a popularity contest, that people wanted to be an influencer, and that it was just when they said like, share, subscribe, that it was just a thing that you say. But no, it's really important to the algorithm that you do these things so that their content continues to get pushed out, so that you can continue to see more of their content if you are interested in that person. um, when I was doing research about the algorithms, one of the things that it said was that the algorithms don't care who you are, but they care about what people do with your content, and that's where the interaction comes into play. And so the number one goal of an algorithm is to keep you on that platform as a viewer. And that is the only goal, to make you stay longer. And so the algorithm looks at 4 categories across all social media platforms. One is attention. Do people stop scrolling to look to see your content? The second category is retention. Do they stay and watch your content? Engagement. Do they like, share, subscribe, or follow? Do they save your content? And then continuation. After they view your content, do they continue watching? Do they stay and watch other people's content? And if you can find content that hits on all 4 of those categories, then the algorithm considers that feedback to be positive, and it will continue pushing out the content, and it will continue to show you as a viewer more of that content from that content creator. And it considers that content to be high value. Now, I originally had some feelings about being considered high value by an algorithm, right? Like I didn't care, it was a problem for me. But then this idea came to me, right? It was like God spoke and said, listen, social media platforms, like, and when I say platforms, I'm talking TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Lemon8, all of those platforms. Those platforms are a business. We call it social media, but to me it sounds very cliquish, right? It sounds like we're back in high school again, and if you don't follow the crowd, then it's a problem. And I've never been one to follow the crowd. But and so I originally had some feelings about all of this algorithm stuff, but it was really impressed upon me that algorithms are used by a business. Social media platforms are a business, and they want the best content to be pushed out to keep people at their business longer, because the longer you stay at their business, the more money you tend to pay, or the more money, like through buying things through ads, and or maybe the more ads you view, and so the more money you make those social media platforms. So it is a business, it's not a personal thing. the other thing is that algorithms test the content, they don't promote it, okay? And so basically what happens is that posts get sent out to small test groups. And then if those do well, then they get pushed out to larger groups, generally speaking. Some platforms don't really work that way, but most do. And so if your content is seen as performing well, then it gets a wider distribution. And if not, then it just stays stuck. And so again, as a viewer, it's important to interact with the content that you like, okay? And again, I'm not talking just for myself. I'm speaking on behalf of all content creators because this is how the algorithm works. And then each platform has a different emphasis within their algorithm, and I'll quickly go through them. TikTok is discovery first, and that means that strangers see you first. So even if you have followers, your followers may not necessarily be included in your test group. They may test your content, or they may test content on strangers before they do your followers, which sounds like a setup, but that's just the way the algorithm works. And if people watch all the way through, or watch mostly the way through, or if they like, share, subscribe, and all of that good stuff, or they comment, then that content is seen as high value, and then they start pushing content out more because that content is seen as something that's going to make people stop scrolling, stay longer, and therefore they earn more money. It's a business model. Instagram focuses on relationships that you have, so your followers, and discovery as well, so the test group. And then Facebook start our own. Facebook has an emphasis on community and conversations. So how big your community, how big a content creator's community is, and whether or not they interact in the conversation. So comments are really important in Facebook. In YouTube, it's the watch time and long-term trust. With YouTube, it tends to take a longer amount of time to build a subscriber base, and their emphasis is watch time. So the longer you as a viewer will watch your content, the more that content is seen as high value. And then Lemon8 is kind of interesting to me because its parent company is the same parent company as TikTok, but they have an emphasis on searching, value, and aesthetics. So the prettier you can make your post, and if people find you by searching and then they stay with you, then you tend to be more successful on Lemon8. So basically that's how the emphasis, those are the emphasis, that's the emphasis on each different platform. I had trouble saying that. Now, I hear a lot of people talking about shadow banning, and shadow banning is a real thing on social media platforms. But shadow banning, I don't think happens as much as people think it does. And so in case you don't know, shadow banning is where the platform will put content in a folder, let's say, and they're getting ready to delete you, basically. They're not going to push your content out for whatever reason. Now, in my research, the shadow banning happens a lot of times because that content creator went outside of the community guidelines and violated them in some way, or because they paid for followers, or as seen by the platform, okay, or I guess there wasn't enough interaction with the content, and so they are starting to see your content as least valuable, and so they stop pushing as defined by their algorithm, and so they stop pushing the content out because the content is not seen as valuable. And so if I wrote down here, like, some clues to know whether or not you are being shadow banned as a content creator is if all of your video views have just suddenly declined. If it happens on a handful of them, or more than you would like to admit, but it doesn't happen on all of them, that is not necessarily shadow banning. Shadow banning is when it happens on all of your content, when your views just suddenly drop, the number of your views suddenly drop, and that your content isn't reaching your non-followers. So if they're not pushing your content out to non-followers, then that means that they are not testing your content anymore. And it's not going anywhere. If you start putting more hashtags or different hashtags on your video and that still doesn't bring in any difference in your views, or if it doesn't bring in any kind of traffic to your posts, then chances are, if all of that applies, then chances are you're being shadow banned and your account is probably just sitting there. But if all of that doesn't apply, then your account is probably not being shadow banned. It's probably there's something going on with your content that people are not responding to. And that is where the analysis part comes in. Every social media platform allows content creators to look at the data analysis of their videos, and you can actually see where you lose people in the video and tweak, I guess, like tweak the content and try again. And a lot of times you'll see that a lot of coaches for social media will tell you, if you're not getting views, then delete. that post and repost again and see what happens. And I have actually done that, and it has actually gotten better. Sometimes I'll get like 5 views on a video, I'll take it down, and I had reposted it and it's gotten more. So that does actually work, in my opinion. This morning when I was doing prayer, I tried to ask for some guidance, biblical guidance, and I actually got led to Proverbs 23. And Proverbs 23 is a proverb about wisdom. And one of the things that I think, and this will kind of piggyback on my last video about success and failure and our ideas of it, sometimes I think that success comes when we're ready for it. And so we may be doing all the things right except preparing ourselves for success. And so one of the things that I think as content creators that we need to kind of ask ourselves is, have we made our internal changes that we need to make in order to be successful in our endeavors? Like, number one, have we asked God that whether or not we need to be content creators? Number two, we need to ask, what is our purpose behind being a content creator? Like, are we searching to be like TikTok famous, right? Do we want the glory? What is our purpose? Do we want to get rich quick? Because that's probably not going to happen. Not saying it can't happen, okay, but I'm just saying it's probably not going to happen. And so these are just some of the things that we probably need to take to God and say, hey, is this what we need to be doing? Are we in alignment with your purpose for us? Are we doing things in accordance to your will? And in Proverbs 23, this is a Proverbs about wisdom. And it talks about how when you're sitting eating with rich people, don't be dazzled by what they have. And by the same token, when you are sitting eating with stingy people, and the stingy people don't give with a glad heart, a happy heart, they don't give you what they have and with joy, then that can make you sick. And be mindful of that. Pay attention to your surroundings. And it goes on to say, like, not to speak to a fool, and don't steal, and don't be afraid to like discipline your children. And it just goes on and on. But it also talks about it just gives like all the ways of being wise, right? Like, don't stray from your marriage, don't get drunk, because when you get drunk, it makes you feel ways that you don't want to feel, and it makes you do things that you don't want to do, and it makes you crave more of the things you shouldn't be craving. And to respect your father and your mother, and it just lists all these things, and it's just talking about wisdom and how to be wise. And so I kind of apply that a little bit to content creation, right? I think that we need to look at our reasons for wanting to be content creators, but also I think that as viewers, we need to be wise in the content that we are consuming, and to take that content to God in prayer and make sure that it's what we need to be looking at before we like, subscribe, comment, share, all of those things. And to make sure that before you follow someone, that it's someone worth following, that it's content worth consuming, because you're absorbing this information. You are taking this in on a regular basis. You are saying that these are the people that I want to listen to on a regular basis. And that is something that I think we really need to take to God to make sure that that is something that we should be doing with my content, with anyone else's content. Just make sure that it's worth consuming every day, because there's so much out there that's not worth consuming. And even when it's under the guise of being God, like about God and Christian based, I've listened to some things recently that I kind of perked my ears up about, and I'm like, wait, what? And so I've kind of moved on and not followed those people, because I didn't like, even some things people will say that they're Christians, but they have some things in their shop, their TikTok shop, that I'm like, why do you have those things in your TikTok shop if you say you're Christian? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I have unfollowed people and moved on because of that. So just please be prayerful about who you follow. And if you are a content creator, please don't be discouraged about how the algorithm is used, but please be knowledgeable about it so that you don't see these things as a failure, like you don't feel some kind of way about it, and just take everything back to God in prayer. I have been given a blessing that I believe I'm supposed to close every video with, and so it's called the Aaronic blessing, and it's found in Numbers chapter 6 verses 24 through 26, and it goes, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace." Y'all have a great day. I love y'all.